So here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Wherever you happen to be in the world today, welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today, taking a look at some clips from the news and having some dialogue with those of you who were able to join us for the live portion. And of course, if you were listening somewhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can also find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So welcome one and all, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, as we get ready to see what is going on in the world today. And of course, for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see, I do try to read as many of the comments as is reasonable. And I'm being joined today by Daniel, who you can see finding a comfortable spot in the chair behind me. And being inappropriate at the moment, but you know, that's what cats do. And I'll go ahead and say hi to some of the people that have been able to join us so far. I see that Spectre is here. Spectre is here, as well as Jane. Helter is here. Dragon. Kimberly. Donna Beaver. Remind everybody, thumbs up, like, and share. Yes, please do. John is here. Brian is here. Rodney is here. Kimberly made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Kimberly. Always helpful. Goes a long way. Of course, we take care of a lot of shelter cats. We got 20 of them we're juggling right now. So all the help we can get. Very much appreciated there, Kimberly. And Rodney wanted to ask, did you send this? Did you send this? Because, of course, there's no notes or anything. That's the Keep. Classic 80s film, forgotten 80s film. Pretty good movie, actually. So let me know if that was you, Rodney, as we get ready to jump off into the realm of the ridiculous and take a look at what is going on in the world today. I'm sure you have all heard by now. That it is official. This is who? Fox News article? And Rodney says that it seems there's no video feed on Prepper University. It says live in 11 minutes. Really? What the hell's up with that? And Rodney did send that. Well, thank you, Rodney. He says, I sent the Keep. I have it on Laserdisc also. Excellent. I appreciate that, Rodney. It's a cool movie. So, Fox News article, it's official. Vice President Kamala Harris formally wins the Democratic presidential nomination. Sort of, because as I understand it, this particular article published at 12:08 a.m. in the morning, because that's pretty much when they voted on this. Okay? This is pretty much when they voted on this. It was like an 11th hour secret vote or some bullshit that they came up with, and I'm getting tired of lawmakers doing this. So here we go. Vice President Kamala Harris is now formally the Democratic Party's 24th presidential nominee. The DNC announced the news on Monday following the conclusion of a 5-day viral roll call of pledged delegates to the party's national convention, which kicks off in 2 weeks in Chicago. The securing of the nomination comes hours before Harris is expected to announce her choice for running mate, which she has done already. The vice president and her to-be announcing running mate kick off a 7 battleground state swing Tuesday evening with a rally in Philadelphia. Monday's formal winning of the nomination came 3 days after Harris secured the votes of a majority of pledged delegates. Quote, I am so proud to confirm that Vice President Harris has earned more than a majority of votes from all convention delegates and will be the nominee of the Democratic Party following the close of voting on Monday, DNC Chair Jamie Harrison said in a statement on Friday. Harris, on a call Friday with supporters, said, I am honored to be the presumptive Democratic nominee for President of the United States. I bet. The nomination of Harris was never in doubt, as the vice president was the only candidate to qualify for the presidential nomination roll call, but it marks a historic milestone in the nation's history. Here we go, as Harris becomes the first woman of color to lead a major political party's national ticket. Whoop-de-doo. And again, I don't care about that. Can she do the job? There's been nothing to indicate that she can do the job. While the official nomination vote by the delegates was held remotely, the DNC said a ceremonial roll call will be held at the Democratic National Convention, which is set to kick off on August 19th. And the whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. And unfortunately, we never learned a lesson from when that chant was being called out at the DNC in the 60s, did we? We learned nothing. And there's Joe Puppet Biden looking confused. Haven't heard a peep out of this guy since he went on like a week or two ago and said why. How long ago was it? Said why it was that it was a week, right? That he was giving her the nomination. Haven't heard a peep out of this guy. Haven't seen him in the media at all. He just kind of disappeared. I don't know if he's dead or alive. You know, an interesting note, 6 days after he gave a speech saying that we've got the strongest economy ever, we had a massive market crash. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there. Spectre says, this channel is number one. I try. You're the only one that reads out people's comments and talks directly to your viewers. Well, you can't. You showed me the courtesy of coming. Oh, the courtesy of coming. You know, I try to acknowledge people. And Fluke Man is here. And Dragon says, when she was installed by the political overlords, she never won a damn thing. There you go. That's the thing, though, is we install puppet governments in other countries. Well, not us, but the United States government does. Installs puppet governments in other countries. Okay? We do it all the time. What makes you think they wouldn't do it here? Just a rhetorical question. And Kimberly says, have you read or heard about the lady being caught with prepared ballots already completed? I did hear something about that. I don't have a story about it, though. And Helda says the American people didn't vote for Kamala as their pick for the Democratic Party. No, they picked. They picked, and they're providing her as your choice. As your choice. So, yeah, I mean, they nominated her. Congratulations. See how that goes. Rodney says Sleepy Joe ticked away in the basement. Pretty much. But yeah, it's already been announced that she made her selection, or the selection was made for her. Okay? The selection was made for her. They told her was going to be, and here he comes. You've already seen this, I'm sure. Harris selects, and this is a CNN article, Harris selects Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to be the vice presidential running mate, and there he is, looking like Larry Bud Melman. Who remembers Larry Bud Melman? That's the first thing I thought of when I saw him. Who remembers Larry Bud Melman? Jane says if Harris gets to be the POTUS, they must give her a check off what she needs to do or know international news, military, what's happening in each state, healthcare, funding. What about the ballots already done? I don't know. And Johnny Future's there, says listening while driving 43 miles through 2 counties just to buy a copy of Time magazine with the bloody Trump cover because people are buying them up. That happens whenever something actually historic happens. You know, they buy up the newspapers. Like I remember you couldn't, when war was declared or when we invaded Iraq, you couldn't find a newspaper anyway. You couldn't find a newspaper anywhere. Larry Bud Melman was a stand-up comic who was probably best known for his multiple appearances on the David Letterman show in the 80s. He used to throw toast. He would have like a stack of toast and he'd throw them out in the audience like frisbees. Larry Bud Melman. If you ever saw the Run DMC King of Rock video, when they go into the Rock Museum, the security guard, that's Larry Bud Melman. And he says, "You can't come in here. This is a rock museum." Anyway, Harris pick highlights the power of social media, but it may make the electoral matter harder. Blah, blah, blah. Let me see. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has been in the top tier of potential running mates for Kamala Harris until the past few weeks, but his selection to join the vice president on the Democratic ticket underscores both the power of social media and of being relatively available and non-divisive. The fact that Harris selected a candidate who does well online shouldn't be surprising. This is the campaign that has embraced Coconut Tree and Brat. But the Walz pick is indicative, of a campaign that is too online. Blah, blah, blah. Bottom line, they picked this guy because I don't think she picked anybody. They told her who to pick. Okay? They picked this guy because he's the opposite of Kamala. That's why. And he's not as old as he looks either. He's like around my age. No, he's a little older. He was born in like 64, I think. He looks older to me. But, I mean, military background, blue collar background, so on and so forth. You see my point? So people will look at him and say, okay, at least this guy looks like he's got something going on. But remember, he ain't the president, she is. Or that's the intention, is to run her, not Tim. Not him, not Tim. Helter says, using the same strategy again. I see we went from old to old again, but he won't outshine her. Smart move on her part. He was the cleanest candidate. Exactly. The people online haven't got too much to say about him. It's relatively quiet because he doesn't get in a lot of trouble, you know. That's what Jane is pointing out here. It says he's a veteran, previous school teacher, married, and a governor. He should help her. We hope, or they hope, as the case may be, because I don't like any of them, but in my opinion, Trump is a better choice. But what are you going to do? And Johnny says they should have picked Big Mike. But yeah, that wasn't going to happen. That wasn't going to happen unless they had no other choice. The reason they would have, and I know Big Mike has said that she wasn't going to run because she doesn't like politics, but that's a smokescreen. If they tell her to run, she will. Okay, she's a puppet too. She's got strings on her like everybody else. But a lot of support would have been lost if Kamala didn't run because they shoehorned her in the first place as the diversity ticket. And if you kick her out, then that undermines why you claim you put her in there in the first place versus why she's actually there, which is a diversity hire. Kimberly wants to know if Kamala will agree to debate Trump. Probably. Trump didn't want to be bothered. They were calling Trump a coward for saying he didn't want to be bothered. And the reason he didn't want to be bothered was because she wasn't the official nominee yet. Now that she is, I'm sure he would be willing to debate her. She'll want to, and they can only avoid it for so long until she has to. But she either comes off as snarky or she sounds like she's drunk and giddy and weird, you know? Obama was snarky too. Everything he said, he sounded like he was talking down to somebody. I never did like him. They always called him the great orator, which meant that he was a good speaker. I don't think so. I feel like he's talking down to the crowd, like he thinks they're all morons. And again, as I've always said, most people are not that smart. But you don't have to treat them like that. You don't have to treat them like they're morons, okay? Try to help them along. at least talk to them on an even keel. If they don't understand something, explain it. If they're too dumb to ask, then there's nothing you can do for them. But this is the choice. It's again, he's the cleanest possibility out of the group. He's got the smallest internet footprint as far as anything you could say negative about him. Plus, he's a veteran. Plus, he actually has had a real job in the past, unlike pretty much everyone else in politics, it seems these days, where all they've done is be in politics or something shady. And Rodney says Obama always did seem condescending to me. And Jane says I'm going to write to her and give her my ideas. They're a bit wacky, but what the hell? There you go. She should walk on. I'd like to see her walk on stage carrying a bottle in a brown bag. That's what I want to see. A bottle in a brown bag, so that she can be down with the people while she's pretending to be what she thinks black is. But what are you going to do, folks? Here's your choices. Trump and Vance, Kamala and Waltz. Again, like I said, he's not a career politician. He's not a career. I don't know when he started in politics, though, to be fair. To be fair. Jane says that she does want to debate Trump, but Trump doesn't want to. Like I said, I mean, he wasn't really keen on it because she wasn't the official nominee. Maybe now that she is, that'll change. But at the same time, if I was him, I'd be kind of sick of jumping through hoops. And especially after that disaster with Biden. Although Biden's the one that looked like a moron, but that's where we are. This is where we are. We're living in idiocracy. For a president macho Camacho with a big medallion and a machine gun, wearing an America cutoff T-shirt. That's what I'm waiting for. President Macho Camacho. Is Macho Camacho right? I don't remember exactly. I saw the film a long time ago. Oh, is that link not going to work? We're going to go through this again. We had some trouble yesterday because Microsoft was having issues. Microsoft was having issues. But I thought things would be a little bit better today. Let's see if I can get this to open properly. There we go. I got it now. Because, of course, we got to jump to... Where are we? We got to jump to the UK. And what's going on out there. Because it's a mess. And the warden has joined us. Glad you could make it today. Johnny said Trump should get on late night and TV and play the saxophone. Yeah, I know, act like one of the boys, right? I knew we were in for, I could foresee all of this that's in politics right now. When Clinton was on, no, it wasn't the Tonight Show. I believe it was the Arsenio Hall show, correct? Was it Arsenio Hall or Tonight Show? He might have gone on both, playing the saxophone, and then when he won, he's out in the middle of the street dancing with Michael Jackson, and I was like, wow, this is just going to be stupid. People went for it. They keep falling for it. They keep falling for it. And Rodney says Trump has said he will debate Kamala on Fox News, but the Democrats insist it would be on ABC or something like that. Yeah, they want to have total control like they did with Biden, where they'll control where the debate takes place. They'll control the microphones. They'll control everything they can. This is an independent article talking about the UK riots, because we're on day 7 here, right, of burning cars and burning hotels. They burned down 2 hotels, right, and a library. and storefronts, and it's just a disaster out there. And the UK is not managing it well. They are not. The tipping point has been reached in the UK, and that's why Elon Musk has taken a lot of heat for it, saying that UK is looking at the possibility of civil war. It's almost inevitable. And they're giving him a hard time for saying that, saying, "Oh, you're inciting." He's not inciting for making an observation, and that's damn well what it looks like if we're a week deep in this all across the UK. We're a week deep in this already. And Kimberly confirms it was Arsenio Hall that Billy Boy played the saxophone. This is an independent article. And what's important to note with a lot of these articles, especially the ones coming out of the UK, is the spin that they're putting on these. The spin that they're putting on these, that they're all far-right thugs. Dangerous far-right thugs with their racist attacks. But independent article, it says, I was at the Rotterdam riots. This is what the far right, there it is, had to say for themselves. And I saw the Prime Minister talking about chanting racist rhetoric and doing Nazi salutes and stuff like that. And I've seen a bunch of riot footage. I have not seen or heard any of it, what he's talking about. The British Prime Minister, he's chomping at the bit to lock up British citizens. They're opening up extra facilities to house the people they plan on arresting. They want to jam as many people in prison as they can with lengthy sentences to quell the violence. They're chomping at the bit to wrap these people up. It's going to get really nasty, and that's what Elon Musk was talking about. So here we go. This is the type of pandering that I'm talking about in the media that's coming out of the UK and how they're spinning this. What has come to mind when you think of a hero? Someone noble, courageous, someone willing to put themselves at risk to defend and protect others, someone with a moral compass who won't just accept injustice. Well, if you've been at yesterday's riot in Rotterdam, you've been spoiled for the choice. You might have got the wrong end of the stick from seeing the footage of the trouble and thought you were watching mob violence, a bunch of vigilante vandals intimidating and terrorizing a minority group as well as the broader community. But according to the people I spoke to yesterday, you'd be wrong. They weren't just smashing up the hotel, threatening the safety of those inside, setting fires and damaging the property of homeowners. No, these people were moral crusaders fighting to save their country from invasion. You see how snarky and sarcastic that all is, right? Standing up for the freedoms from which their fathers and grandfathers had fought, the rioters were patriots, people with the courage of their convictions, speaking truth to power and protecting women and girls from sexual predators. Oh my God. Oh my God. But this is the spin that's coming from the UK media. And there's some footage of the riots. I won't play the audio, excuse me. Zane is here. He says protesters are getting out of hand. And Yahweh 1976, he says elections have consequences. The British voters are getting exactly what they deserve. Woo! You could make that argument. And Tuck is here as well as Puck U. Puck is here. Tuck is here. The problem with that is, and I've talked about that plenty of times, they'll get what they deserve, but the people who didn't vote for it, who weren't part of it, they'll get sucked down with it. Because, you know, just like crabs in a bucket, you know, they pull everybody down. They pull everybody down. And the British media is spinning this. It's not being handled well. All they want to do is lock everybody up. And of course, you know, that means taxpayer dollars out the window. And Raccoon has joined us as well. Glad you could make it today. That's all taxpayer money, ladies and gentlemen. And Helter says the British government has made peaceful revolution impossible for the people. I wouldn't be surprised if the people went to war against their government. Hey, and that's what it looks like, and that's what Elon Musk was alluding to. But that's the spin, that these people are just a bunch of racist thugs, and it's all about the fact that some of these people are darker skinned. Some of them, keeping in mind that a lot of the people that are immigrating to the UK, a lot of the illegal immigrants, are from Eastern Europe. They're not exactly dark skinned, are they? A lot of them are from Eastern Europe. You'd be surprised. As I catch up a couple more comments here, Yahweh says exactly. I was referring to the voters who voted Labor. The other voters are collateral damage. Yeah, and that's what that would be the term, collateral damage. Correct. But you know, the analogy of the sinking ship, as I've mentioned before, when it goes under, if you're too close, it's going to suck you in with it, and that's unfortunately how that goes down. But what's really the problem? Well, maybe we could go to Britain's own government assistance website and see what the problem is. Let's go to, is this it? Yes. Let's go to gov.uk. Let's go. Let's pretend I'm from Afghanistan or Nigeria or Georgia, the country Georgia, and I want to sneak into Britain. I got on a boat in France and I snuck over to the UK, okay? This is what I have to look forward to, and you can see clearly right there, for those of you who are able to see, gov.uk. Asylum support. This is their asylum support page. Are you seeking asylum? Here's what you'll get. Plain as day. What you'll get. What you'll get. Oh, Jane, that bear spray, it wears out after a while. And I mean the aerosol, you can only keep it for so many years, and it has an expiration date, and then eventually it won't spray anymore. Something to consider there. And Yahweh says people who don't like what's going on need to get out if possible. The ship is sinking, and it's best to watch the downfall of Great Britain from a safe distance. And Puck says, note that the, quote, far-right protesters aren't looting Foot Locker and burning down fast food joints. It'll get to that point when they get pissed enough. But back to uk.gov, or gov.uk, I said it backwards. Asylum assistance, official government page. What you'll get. You can ask for somewhere to live, a cash allowance, or both as an asylum seeker. All right. So I get a place to live. I get money. Housing. You'll be given somewhere to live if you need it. This could be in a flat, a house, a hostel, or a bed and breakfast. You cannot choose where you live. It's unlikely you'll get to live in London or Southeast England. So I want the bed. Can I get the bed and breakfast? Oh, they won't let me pick. I won't let me pick. It's like a lotto, I guess, or they roll a dice, and on each side of the dice, there's a picture of a house, an apartment, a bed and breakfast, a hotel, or something, I guess, right? Cash support. You usually get £49.18 for each person in your household. This will help you pay for things you need like food, clothing, and toiletries. That $49.18 is per week, I think. Yeah, I read that somewhere else. It doesn't say here. Your allowance will be loaded onto a debit card, an Aspen card each week. Oh, there it is, each week. Thank you. You'll be able to use the card to get cash from a cash machine. Excellent. Oh no. Jane says, aren't most British folks passive? No. Do their cops carry guns? Yes. Not all of them, but yeah, many of them are armed. Oh my God. So there you go. If your accommodation provides your meals, you get less money if you get meals. So if I get the bed and breakfast, I get less of a cash allowance. If you've been refused asylum but you're eligible for support, you'll still get somewhere to live. You'll still get £49 18 pence per person on a payment card. Oh no. And you get a bonus if you're pregnant or if you have children. So if you're pregnant, you get an extra £5.25 a week. If you have a baby under a year old, you get an extra $9.50. And if you have children aged 1 to 3, you get $5.25. All right. All right. Maybe this is the problem. Maternity payment. You can apply for a one-off £300 maternity payment if your baby's due in 11 weeks or less, or if your baby is under 6 months old. And it tells you how to apply for the maternity grant. Healthcare. You may get free National Healthcare Service healthcare, such as to see a doctor or get hospital treatment. You'll also get free prescriptions for medicine, free dental care for your teeth, free eyesight tests, and help paying for glasses. You get free you know what? Veterans can't get care for their teeth. Veterans can't get dental coverage. Oh man. Oh, Rodney says, I think it's too late for the UK. Australia too, pretty much. Or Canada. The government and security forces are stuffed full of people who despise British culture. They should be this should be a warning to the remaining Western nations. Oh, wow. But I mean, you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, here's your problem. Oh, I didn't finish. Education. Of course, if your kid is aged 5 to 17, they can go to any state school and get free school meals right there. Free school meals. Okay. This is why they're rioting. All right. A combination of this and one other factor. Free housing, taxpayer paid. Free cash support, taxpayer paid. Free healthcare, taxpayer funded. Free education, taxpayer funded. And on top of that, you're going to sit there like a lump, not pull your weight, not learn the language, and bring all your bad habits with you. Whatever horrible things you were doing in your country, instead of trying to improve yourself, you're going to bring them there too. You're going to fight with people. You're going to attack people. You're going to cause all kinds of problems. And again, that's not everybody. There are legitimate asylum seekers in the UK, just like in the US. There are legitimate immigrants. But what we have right now in the Western world, in the United States, in the UK, is a flood of people that just want to suckle at the teat of the taxpayer. And Dilo is here. Dilo has joined us as I try to catch up a little bit here. And Fluke Man says, part about protecting women and children from predators. Read from the article. It's disgusting and hilarious. Since around 2015, police and the government covered up Pakistani gangs attacking Caucasian females. Let's put it that way. That is true. Fluke Man is correct. And Fluke Man lives out there. Yahweh says Great Britain has been going to hell since the mass shooting in Scotland in 96. And Zane thinks it's sad people can't get along. No, unfortunately they can't. Unfortunately they can't. Human beings are mean and cruel and nasty and dumb and selfish. Very, very bad combination. And you have to really want to be a better person, a different person. And you have to work on yourself instead of worrying about everybody else. But this is the problem. Between this, just automatically, because it says asylum support right there, right? Asylum support, there it is. But then it literally says right here, if you've been refused asylum support, if you've been refused asylum, you're still eligible for support. If you've been refused asylum, but you're still eligible for support, you get everything on the list. Everything on the list. You don't have to contribute shit. Just citizen consumer. Citizen consumer. There you go. And that's only sustainable for so long, and then you end up like the Soviet Union or any other hardcore communist or socialist country that has fallen apart, completely collapsed, like France is now. Remember, France is a socialist country. How much longer can they keep going? They thought they were going to redeem themselves with the Olympics. Oh, my ass. Fluke Man says, you know I live in the UK. Sorry for my poor punctuation. There's nothing wrong with your punctuation and grammar, Fluke Man. You know far too much about what's going on in the UK not to be there. Just reasonable deduction. And Yahweh says multiculturalism hasn't been a positive thing for a lot of countries in the world. That's true. From U.S. Congressman Steve King was right about it. No, that's the whole big joke, and I talked about it yesterday. The whole big lie about the Great Melting Pot, that they talked about that a lot during the bicentennial in the United States in 1976. Oh, we're the great big melting pot. You know, sometimes you pour too much shit in that pot and it turns into a really nasty meal. Okay? It turns into a mess. And that's where we are. That is where we are. But yeah, giving away everything to everybody. And then they don't even appreciate it. They don't even appreciate it. Look at the asylum seekers in the United States, so-called asylum seekers in the United States. We know what they really are. And the demands, remember the demand letters in Colorado? Demanding that there be no security in the shelters, demanding that they be given fresh food and chefs so that they can or be allowed to cook the food themselves instead of being catered. All kinds of demands. Demanding unlimited shower access. Anybody ever seen a shelter? Do you get unlimited shower access? Nobody gets that. Nobody gets that. Jane wants to drop anybody who commits a crime off back where they came from. Well, we used to do that. We used to do that. We used to kick them out. We used to kick them right out. But where are we here? Where are we here? Oh, yes. Corrupt government. I tell you, I read one of these articles at least every week. I read an article with corrupt government. Flukeman says, catching up a couple comments here real quick. The new government deciding whether to take our state pension to fund the younger generations. Okay, get it. But what happens to the money that was meant for the younger people? Borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And then borrowing from Paul, too. And Tuck says the melting pot has become a useless crucible holding a weak and equally useless abomination of an alloy. But yeah, on to the subject of corruption, really quick. Mayor Eric Adams being scrutinized again. And this is a Tribune News Service article. It says payments to Adams aides among $2.3 million in improperly documented campaign spending. One more from Tuck, because it ties in here. He says he was in a homeless shelter for one day. No one gets to use a shower without express permission. So here we go. Ingrid Lewis Martin, another diversity hire, I'm sure. Ooh, wow. She's really trying to cover up her age. Some of these images just really throw me. You know, there's a lot of foundation. It's on her neck and everywhere. Real bright lipstick, a wig. I'm curious to see how old she is. Payments to Mayor Eric Adams' chief advisor Ingrid Lewis Martin and other top staffers are among the $0.3 million in spending by the mayor's 21 campaign that the city's election watchdog has found his team failed to properly document, according to records obtained by Daily News. The findings contained in the City Campaign Finance Board's draft audits of the 21 mayoral bid raised the specter of hefty financial penalties as the mayor is looking ahead to his 25 re-election bid. The 901-page draft audit, God, that's a nightmare, obtained by the news via a Freedom of Information law request, was sent on May 31st to the mayor's campaign end of this month to respond to the CFB's findings before the board finalizes the document and assesses whether fines should be levied. Vito Pita, Adams' campaign attorney, declines comment. I bet he did. Adams' 21 campaign raised $20 million, more than half of which was public matching funds, taxpayer dollars that are given to candidates to match donations from city residents. How much money do you need? CFB spokesman Tim Hunter declined to comment. First reported by Gothamist, the draft audit shows that the $2.3 million is unaccounted for spending, included a $35,000 payment to Suggs Solutions, a consulting firm run by Brianna Suggs, Adams' top political fundraiser, whose home was raided by the FBI last year as part of a federal investigation into the campaign's ties to Turkey. How's that for a mess? The audit paperwork says that Suggs' payment was issued without a required supporting contract explaining the reasons for it. And the debted amount also didn't show up on the campaign's bank records. The records also show unaccounted for campaign spending, including a $26,000 wage payment to Lewis Martin, Adams' longtime political confidant, who serves as her chief advisor at City Hall, and an $18,000 fee to Shapiro Consulting Group, a firm that was ran at the time by Menashe Shapiro, the mayor's deputy chief of staff. Sounds like they're all just sitting there paying each other with the money that was donated. And Puck reminds us that Japan doesn't import the third world. Yeah, it's not that easy to get in there. Not easy to get in there. Helter says Eric Adams is so openly corrupt, it's disrespectful. It's the nature of the position. At least politicians of yesteryear had the decency to do their shady business in the shadows. Absolutely. Oh, and it gets better. It gets better because it doesn't stop with that. Because this was revealed this morning. Mayor Eric Adams again. New York Post article. New York City should recover millions in payments to migrant contractors. The firm awarded a hefty $432 million no-bid contract by Mayor Eric Adams' administration to help migrants should be forced to return millions of dollars to the city over questionable payments and billing practices aided by shoddy government oversight, according to a scathing audit by comptroller Brad Lander, a newly announced mayoral candidate. The audit of the city's emergency contract with the controversial firm DocGo reviewed payments for the first 2 months of the firm's emergency contract in May and June of 23 to provide hotel rooms, food, and other services to migrants, many in suburban and upstate inns north of the Big Apple. A draft of the report obtained by the Post concluded 80% of the first $13.8 million paid to DocGo during the initial 2 months, roughly $11 million, should be recouped by the city. Payments for lodging, security, food, and other services were inflated or lacked documentation, while oversight of subcontractors was nil, according to the audit. And that's what happens when you throw out a no-bid contract. That should never happen. None of these so-called sanctuary cities should have had no-bid contracts. It shouldn't have been allowed. It wouldn't have been done anywhere else. A review of paid invoices for May and June of 2023 found that 80% of the I read that part. Let me see. Should not have been paid either because the amounts paid were not allowable under the contract or they were not adequately supported by documentation as required. If this error rate were applied across the $168 million subsequently paid to DocGo for services as of June 12, 2024, the overpaid amount could reach $134.4 million. I mean, they're basically suggesting that as much as 80% of the $432 million in taxpayer dollars that Adams has paid to DocGo was never used. Dragon says well-connected friends of Mayor Adams got bags of taxpayer money. Then the fat cats keep the bulk of taxpayer money and redirect their anger at the migrants. Incredible. And Johnny says, why do politicians say these people are here trying to make a life? They haven't committed any crimes, because by just being here illegally is a crime. Well, they're not being honest anyways. They're just not being honest anyways. Now let's see here. This one, tell me if anyone has seen this story at all. This is a story they're trying to bury. Okay? This is a story that they're trying to bury. And this is in Missouri. This is in Missouri, and this is Time Fitness. It's an investigation, and this is live on Fox 2. This is a local news station, okay? Who's heard about the Lifetime Fitness and the Transformer story? And the Transformer story. And Jane says they have to go. Well, we'll see you again. Glad you could make it. Has anyone seen this story? Because it's really getting buried. And the more you go into it, the weirder it gets. So Missouri AG investigates Ellisville women's gym locker room use. Ellisville, Missouri, the Missouri Attorney General's office has launched an investigation into a reported incident of gym goers' locker room usage at the Lifetime Fitness gym in Ellisville. The Missouri Attorney General announced the investigation Friday morning after receiving multiple notifications about an incident involving the women's locker room of the gym. The investigation appears to be connected with a gender identity of a gym goer. A spokesperson for Lifetime Fitness tells Fox 2 that the gym goer is a member and has presented a state-issued driver's license identifying as a woman. Quote, we cannot deny or discriminate on the basis of sex. Therefore, the member is to use Lifetime's women's locker room, said Lifetime Fitness partially in a statement to Fox 2. In a notice of the investigation, Bailey contends that the gym goer was born a male. He argues the investigation is a matter of public safety and legal compliance. So, quote here, as Attorney General, I will vigorously defend and enforce Missouri laws, says Bailey partially in his announcement of the investigation. You face both potential criminal and civil liabilities, and you can expect to receive civil investigative demands from my office in short order. If you insist on endangering women and young girls in our state in an open defiance of law, be assured you will face consequences. Now, again, this is Lifetime Fitness. This is in Ellisville, Missouri. And this picture right here, the protesters that are out there now with their signs, you're not being fair to this transmogrified person, blah, blah, blah. They're not telling you the whole story. I've seen some review process with some of the people that are from the Lifetime Fitness, as well as a member from Lifetime who was actually on Jason Whitlock like yesterday talking about this. Jason Whitlock, of course, a former sportscaster who now has his own channel on YouTube. He has a pretty big following, actually. He's got like 500,000 viewers. But what's really been going on here is, yeah, Zane says he understands they fear predators. All right, here's the story. Here's what's not said in any of the articles I've looked at. This is a homeless man who lives in his car that is permanently in residence in the parking lot of the Lifetime Fitness. Okay? He's a homeless man who lives in the car there. He does have a membership. He does have a driver's license that says he's female, and he claims to be identifying as such. He's homeless by choice because apparently he has a lucrative IT job, and he sits in his car in the parking lot on his laptop and works from home, for lack of a better description, using Lifetime Fitness's free Wi-Fi. He has a membership, and the person who allowed for him to keep his membership, by the way, the manager has now been terminated for giving him membership, because that's how messy this has gotten. Okay? Again, the article doesn't say this. He doesn't use the gym. He just hangs out in the locker room naked. He hangs out in the locker room naked. People walk in there and see him standing in front of the mirror with nothing on. Dude, what are you doing here? I think you're in the wrong locker room. How dare you? Can't you see I'm a woman? And I'm not exaggerating. This is the argument. And it gets worse. Johnny says this would not have happened 40 years ago. It wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. And Puck says Transformers should leave their you-know-what in the car using a female locker room. No open carry. Okay. And Helter says basically the AG signed off on an official policy that states they want private businesses to cup check people as they enter their restrooms and locker rooms. Bunch of creepy weirdos. Of course, this homeless by choice person has social media accounts. Who the hell doesn't? And on them talks about the fact that he owns firearms. He talks about shooting people, including himself. And has stated on his accounts, apparently, that he will terminate himself if people do not acknowledge that he is female. Yeah. So if a month from now he goes in there blazing, I will not be surprised, because something is really, really wrong here. Raccoon says, this world, I have no words for the craziness. Indeed. And this is where the arguments are coming from, is people are going in there. It's like, hey, you know, my 14-year-old was just in the locker room and there's some dude standing naked in front of the mirror, shaving, and he got pissy, and it's weird, and what are you going to do about it? Well, his license says female, so our hands are tied. The manager said to let him in. And this is no punk location either. The Ellisville, Missouri location is in an affluent neighborhood. Memberships start at $200 a month. And that's where we found out about the fact that he has a lucrative IT job living out of his car. Because that comes into question. How's a homeless guy affording a $200+ a month membership? He's got money to burn. Oh my God. Fluke Man says protecting women from transmogrified women. I recently found out some states have no age limit for marriage. A preteen can be forced to get married, but nobody ever talks about it. I'm shocked and disgusted. Yeah, certain states have different age of consent laws. I don't know what they all are. It's different from state to state. I want to say in Georgia it's 16. I don't remember. I don't remember. But yeah, it varies all over the place. It's all over the place. But this is a story that's being swept under the radar. I don't know if anyone has seen this. And like I said, even this article talks about really just that he's claims to be transmogrified, that he was using the women's locker room. They didn't tell you that he don't use the gym. He just goes in the locker room. That there's protesters out there now because they all come out. The protesters all come out and wave their signs and chant and rave and carry on. But they don't tell you who this guy actually is and what's really going on with him. That part they don't tell you. That part they leave hanging. Okay? And that's the problem. You don't get the whole story, and you really need to see it to get it into context. I'm going to see if I can. And I'll tell you, I got in trouble yesterday, by the way. I got in trouble for the Chick-fil-A. The Chick-fil-A video clip. They got me for it. Just making the point. You know, I didn't expect that. And I'm trying to see if I can find. Okay, I got a clip. And I'll just try to. Oh, geez. I'm going to try to run it for you while we have a couple of minutes left. See if I can get this to pull up properly. All right, this is the person. Let me get the audio going.
I was in my bikini and I sat down in front of my locker, and this woman came out of nowhere and just, told me, "This is inappropriate. You can't be here. You shouldn't be here. You should be with the men." Blah blah blah.
A statement from.
That's dude. Zane says, "Why? You mean about Chick-fil-A? I have no idea. Copyright infringement." And I'm like, it's somebody's random cell phone video clip of a Chick-fil-A drone that they're experimenting with to replace Uber. How's that copyright? That was just a short clip of the guy from out of a news article, so that you can see what he looks like. It doesn't tell you much. Even that doesn't really tell you anything. I had to get the other story by piecing it together from other people's descriptions and from the one guy who is on Jason Whitlock that is a member of that gym and says this has actually been going on for a while with people complaining about him and they won't bring their daughters to the gym anymore and so on. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. I still have Daniel sitting behind me. He stayed with us the whole time. No other felines in the room, unfortunately, but hey, there you go. Rodney says the guy's clearly insane. Well, he says he's going to shoot himself. You know, if I did that, I would be put under 72-hour observation for making the claim. Is anyone going to put him under for observation? I doubt it. And like I said, if he breaks in there in a month or two blazing away, I will not be surprised. But with that, we will go ahead and start wrapping things up. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can join the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. Special thanks to Kimberly for making a donation to the channel today. Very much appreciated. It goes a long way to helping us with our fee lines. You can also find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. You can find me on X, and that is at Coffee Talk Chat. And with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. Hope you got something